Hello everyone and welcome back to more of the Fruit of Grisaia. Let's continue on. I retrieved my private cell phone from my jacket pocket. Of course, we tried calling Machina before anything else, but her cell phone went straight to voicemail every time. Machina's missing. We don't know where she is. She hasn't come back from work. We're all very worried. Amana and I had been uncertainly pondering our next move when a savior known as Psychic Yumiko descended from the ceiling on a golden chariot. As saviors go, she might be a bit on the cranky side, but today she brought us tidings of comfort and joy. Apparently, Machina's cell phone was equipped with a remote tracking function in case of loss or theft. We immediately set out about tracking the phone's location through its GPS. As it turns out, she was keeping perfectly still in what looked like a corner of the shopping district near a station. After consulting a map, we confirmed the girl wasn't in a residential area, just sitting by the side of a public road. Apparently, my gobbling down cakes in a rich person's house hypothesis was off the mark. Given this new information, my next thought was that the girl had either dropped her cell phone or simply dazed off in the spot, but seems like it was the latter. Aww, that's so adorable. Machina, hey, Machina, wake up. For the time being, I decide not to take the drastic smack upside the head solution to this dilemma, opting for a gentle shake of the shoulder. Machina's head sways a little in response, but there's no sign of waking her up. Worn out from your first day on the job? The thought leaves me a little hesitant to wake the girl up forcibly. For a moment, I decide to contact Amani on myself.
Hi, こちらイリスマキナ捜索本部本部長周防天音。
This is Field Operative Kazuma Yuji. I've discovered and secured them all.
よかったマキナ見つかったのね。
Yeah, little punk's taking a nice nap on a bench in front of the
も
station.
う起こした？起きそう？
Not really. I tried calling out to her, but the girl seems to be sleeping pretty deeply. I'll wait a little longer, but it shouldn't be a problem either way. If necessary, I'll just carry her back to the
マ
dorm.
キナ8時から見たいテレビがあるって言ってたからそれまでには連れて帰ってあげて。
Understood. Nothing further to report. I'm ending the
お
call.
疲れ様。
Alright then. Hey Machina, can you wake up for me? Once again, I give Machina's shoulder a shake while calling out quietly. She does respond in the form of a dopey little grunt, but it doesn't seem to have brought her any closer to regaining consciousness. Well, I guess I'll have to carry her back. Girl's not exactly heavy, shouldn't be much of an issue. I glance at my watch. We've still got nearly 2 hours left until 8, and I doubt it'll take longer than 30 minutes to get back to the dorm, even if I'm carrying her on my back. More than enough time. But seriously, could you be any more defenseless? Considering the girl was kidnapped as a child, she's surprisingly incautious. Then again, there's not really much danger in a public street with heavy pedestrian traffic. At worst, you might have a wallet or bag stolen while you sleep, but in modern Japan, even that sort of petty crime isn't very common. This really is a peaceful country. But on the other hand, the apathy of the passerby who don't even bother to wake up a little girl dozing off in the sun is also very typically Japanese. In any case, I can't just let the girl sleep here forever. For one thing, the longer we stay like this, the higher the odds of someone reporting some shady-looking degenerate trying to cop a feel off a sleeping kid to our friendly neighborhood police station. We know how fun they are. I should really either be waking her up immediately or getting her on my back and beating a prompt retreat, but watching Machina draw soft, regular breaths can't help but wanting to just let her be. I know this might sound a little strange, but I don't dislike watching women sleep. Totally not creepy at all. Doesn't matter if it's a ridiculously powerful and cruelly masculine woman or a shaggy-headed blonde who spends every waking moment carping like she's your damn mother. When their eyes are closed and their mouth is shut, they're cute. Same goes for Machina, seems. Normally watching the girl just makes you wonder if she's burned out a couple 100,000 synapses in her brain, but when sleeping quietly like this, she's genuinely adorable. Oh.
寝てた。
You awake, Machina?
あれパパなんでパパがいるの？
You were really taking your time getting back, so I came to pick you up.
そっか。ごめんね。なんか私、お仕事終わったら急に眠くなっちゃって。
Makina opens her mouth wide and lets out a high-pitched, vaguely feline yawn. Worn out from your first day on the job?
なんかね、初めてのことばっかりで覚えるのが大変でね。でもすっごく楽しかったのよ。
That's good to hear. Think you'll stick with it? Although I've been making a conscious effort to trust Makina, I was pretty worried deep down. But from the way she's talking, it sounds like she was able to concentrate on the job.
私ね、パン屋さんの仕事好きかも。いろんなパンがあって、いろんなお客さんが来て、
That's good.
今日ね、いろんな人といろんなお話をしたのよ。
Well, what sort of people did you meet?
いっぱいいたよ。普通の OL さんとか、子供を連れたお母さんとか、それにフィリピンのお姉さんとか、中国とか台湾のお姉さんとか、あとタイのオカマのお姉さん。
Transvestite. I like that. That's funny. Sounds like you've got quite the Pan-Asian clientele in there.
なんかね、店長に聞いたら、外国の人はスーパーとかで買い物しにくいんだって。
You don't say. Come to think of it, this foreigner I knew once told me something. A while ago, the tabloids and TV news shows made a habit of constantly reporting on organized criminal activity perpetrated by a small number of illegal immigrant workers. As a result, people got this fixed idea about groups of foreign shoplifters roaming the supermarkets, and anyone who doesn't look Japanese enough still gets the stink eye. It can make your weekly shopping trip feel really unpleasant.
ねえねえ、お仕事いっぱい頑張ったからって店長さんにメロンパンいっぱいもらったのよさ。
The paper sack Makina clutching in her arms is packed full of pastries. Judging from the intense sweet fragrance wafting from the buns, they're still hot from the oven.
お腹が空いたから帰りに食べようかと思ったんだけどね。どうせならみんなで食べようと思って。パパとかアマネとかユミちゃんにチルチルにサッチンにチズチズ、いつもお世話になってる人にね、いつもありがとうってメロンパン食べてって言おうと思って。でも帰る途中でどうしても眠くなっちゃって寝ちゃった。私ね、いっつもみんなにはありがとうって感謝してるのよ。でもね、今日それが分かった気がするのよさ。一生懸命頑張って、これが私の頑張った結果なんだよってメロンパンを食べてもらえばきっと気持ち伝わるよね。お礼の気持ちって、感謝の気持ちってきっとこういうことなんだろうなって初めて分かった気がするのね。それ。
I see. You did good, Makina. I'm sure they'll be happy. Like always, I drop a hand on Makina's head and scratch vigorously. I want to discover that her hair is moist with perspiration. Although it's gotten a little cooler now that the sun's sinking, not being outside the summer day probably has something to do with it. When I think of it as a sweat the girl shed in her labors, for some reason there's a tight feeling in my chest. Thought runs through my mind with a new ring of conviction. I look down to find Makina's head nodding back and forth unsteadily.
ダメだ。すごい眠いのよ。
That's alright, you can sleep, but can you get on my back first? I'll carry you to the dorm.
ありがとう、パパ。
As the streets fill with the pinkish glow of sunset and the cries of cicadas, I take the bag of melon buns from Makina's hands and help her onto my back. Her body's small, light, and ridiculously warm as always. I can already feel my back growing damp with sweat. The girl's fast asleep before I can even take a single step. She breathes through her nose steadily and quietly, every exhalation tickling the nape of my neck. This habit of dozing off anywhere at any time is, as Amane puts it, probably a mild case of narco whatever, but it's not anything that unusual for me since my big sister was just as abrupt a sleeper. I think Makina is fundamentally pretty similar to her in this respect, actually. My sister's brain ran on a higher octane fuel than most people's, but the mileage wasn't great. Sometimes she'd sleep more than 12 hours in a single day, and other times I'd look over after a brief pause in a conversation to find she'd nodded off, after which she'd wake up only a minute or two later. Her only major point of difference is that she would nod off at fixed times every day. Machina's a lot less predictable, requiring much more careful attention. Anyway, from what my sister told me when I was young, the heavy sleeping was necessary so that her conscious mind could process the large amounts of information she absorbed while awake. In other words, nothing to get too worried about. Whoops! Shifting the melon buns to a precarious one-arm grip, I reached around to halt Machina's limp slide down my back. After pushing her form onto my shoulders, I resumed my slow, gentle walk back to the dorm, careful not to wake my passenger. July 24th. When I returned to the dorm, Machina still clinging to my back, Amane comes out to meet us with an undisguised relief on her face. And for some reason, all of our other classmates are waiting in the lobby as well. Michiru, a vaguely crabby expression on her face, peers over my shoulder at Machina and asks, "So she fell asleep after all?" in a sarcastic tone. Then proceeds to poke at the girl's flabby little cheeks, mumble what a hopeless kid, and break into a smile. As for Sashi, she begins by offering me a polite bow and thanks for my efforts, then carefully removes Machina's boots one at a time and puts them away in a shoe rack at the side of the door. In their place, she takes Machina's favorite pair of slippers, the so-called terrible twins, decorated with the snarling faces of two stuffed animal tigers, and slides them onto her feet. However, since the girl's still lying limp against my back, they flop right off and fall to the ground. So she picks them up and puts them back on, not that it works any better the second or third time, clumsily earnest as always. Maybe someday she'll figure out that brute force repetition doesn't compensate for a lack of strategy. Lastly, there's Sakaki, an initially convincing show of indifference believed by a momentary glance away from the paperback in her hand. Once her eyes find Machina sleeping on my back, she snorts softly and returns her glance to the book. I think it's safe to say she was fairly concerned about Machina, too, in her way. It's about 10 minutes after this little scene when the girl finally wakes up. Her eyes blink open in my bed, where I tossed her soundly slumbering body as a temporary measure, and quickly find the large sack of melon buns sitting next to her pillow. Squirming out of my bed, she grabs the bag and scampers off to distribute them to the other residents of the dorm. Amane and Sashi express their heartfelt thanks in voices choked with tears, but Shiro offers, "Well, I don't dislike melon buns," managing to convey sincere gratitude despite the standard veneer of arrogance. Even Sakaki softly closes her book with a quiet "I see," stares Machina straight in the face, says, "I'll accept that gratefully then," and proceeds to dig into the pastry right then and there. I'm honestly a little surprised at first, but come to think of it, I guess that's sort of her style. In summary, Machina's first day at part-time work, the subject of so much angst and anxiety, has come to a peaceful conclusion.